Ayla had always been the kind of girl who loved exploring quiet places where nobody else went. Her village sat near a long, dry valley, a place most people avoided because it had nothing to offer. The ground there was cracked. The wind always carried dust, and old stories claimed strange sounds sometimes came from deep inside the rocks. But Ayla never believed in scary tales. She liked peaceful spots, and that lonely valley gave her that calm silence she couldn't find in the busy village. One afternoon, after finishing her small chores at home, she decided to go for a walk. The sun rested low in the sky, glowing softly, making everything warm, but not too hot. Ayla carried a small cloth bag on her shoulder with a few snacks and a little wooden flute she liked to play. She walked past the village boundary, waving at two kids playing near the well, then crossed the open field that led to the valley. She didn't really have a plan. She just wanted some time alone. The valley felt even quieter than usual. No one was working in the fields nearby, and even the birds seemed to be resting somewhere else. Ayla walked along a rocky path, her sandals crunching on the dry ground. She liked listening to her footsteps echoing against the stone walls. It made her feel like the valley was talking back to her. After walking a little deeper, she stopped to catch her breath. The air felt different, heavier, like something unseen was hiding in the silence. She looked around, wondering why everything felt so still. Then, just as she was about to continue walking, she heard a low, strange sound, almost like someone trying to breathe, but struggling. Ayla froze. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't an animal she recognized. It sounded deeper, old, almost painful. Her heart thumped quickly. For a moment, she wanted to turn around and go home. But the sound came again, a little louder this time, echoing between the stone walls. It didn't sound dangerous. It sounded like someone in trouble. She slowly stepped forward, following the sound. With every few steps, she paused and listened. Again, the sound guided her toward the far end of the valley, where the rock formations rose taller and sharper, like teeth of a giant creature. She had never gone this far alone before, but something pulled her forward, curiosity mixed with concern. As she walked between two tall rocks, the path narrowed. She had to squeeze through, pushing her shoulder bag ahead of her. On the other side, she entered a small open space hidden from normal view. It felt cooler here. Shadows covered most of the ground. The strange sound came again, louder, right beneath her feet. That was when she realized the ground below wasn't solid stone. It was hollow. Ayla stepped back quickly, her breath sharp. She crouched down, pressing her ear against the ground. The sound came again, a long, deep exhale, like someone trying to call out without enough strength. She touched the surface and felt a soft vibration that made her fingers tingle. There was something under the rocks. She stood up and looked around. Just ahead, a part of the ground dipped slightly, like an entrance that had been buried for years. She brushed away dust and small stones until she noticed a narrow gap big enough for a person to crawl through. Her heart pounded. She didn't know what she would find, but the sound made her feel a strange sense of responsibility. Someone or something was suffering down there. Using both hands, she cleared more debris. When the gap was wide enough, she knelt and slowly slid into the darkness below. Her long tunic caught on the rough stone, and she had to tug it gently to free herself. She felt nervous, but she kept going, her hands searching for stable places to hold. The tunnel was short. After crawling a few moments, her body dropped gently onto a flat cave floor. A soft blue glow filled the space. Ayla blinked, letting her eyes adjust. At first, she thought she was imagining it, but then she saw it clearly, a huge shape lying on the ground, breathing weakly. It glowed faintly, as if light was flowing inside its body instead of outside. Her mouth opened in surprise. It was a dragon. Not the kind from picture books or stories told by old folks. This one didn't have the typical rough, dark scales or sharp horns. Its body seemed smoother, covered in patterns of soft lines that pulsed with light. Its wings lay folded tightly against its sides, too weak to move. Its long tail curled around a broken stone pillar. The creature looked ancient, as if it had been waiting inside this cave for an impossible amount of time. Ayla's whole body tensed. She didn't know whether to run or stay. She had never imagined she would see something so enormous, so unreal-looking, lying right in front of her. Her first instinct was fear, but when she looked at its face, large, tired eyes barely open fear, softened into something else. The dragon didn't look threatening. It looked exhausted. It made the sound again, a slow breath that seemed to shake through its entire body. That was the sound she had been hearing from above. Ayla took one step forward, then another. Her hands trembled slightly, but she couldn't pull herself away. She whispered softly, not knowing if the creature could even hear her. "Hello?" The cave echoed her small voice. The dragon's eyelids twitched. Its head lifted a little, only a little, but enough to show that it was aware of her presence. Its eyes glowed faint blue, dim and weak. Then, in a voice that sounded like a mixture of wind and whisper, it spoke. "Water." Ayla's breath caught in her throat. The voice wasn't loud, but it was clear enough. The creature could talk, and it was begging. It lifted its head a little more, struggling. Its long neck trembled, as if even that tiny movement cost enormous effort. It tried again. "Water. Please." Ayla swallowed nervously. Her legs felt rooted in place. She had never heard a creature speak like that, so softly, so human-like, yet carrying a weight of unimaginable age. She noticed its tongue looked cracked, its lips dry. Even its glowing patterns seemed faded, like dying light. The creature wasn't trying to scare her. It wasn't roaring. It wasn't threatening. It was pleading. Ayla looked at her cloth bag. She carried only a small bottle of water for her walk. Not much, but it was something. She hesitated. What if giving it water was dangerous? What if it became strong and unpredictable? What if helping it was a mistake? But then she remembered how painful the creature's voice sounded. She remembered the lonely, suffering breath she had followed all the way from the valley floor. And she remembered how its eyes looked not wild or angry, but full of exhaustion and desperation. Ayla stepped closer, still cautious, but more confident. Now the dragon lowered its head again, unable to keep it raised any longer. It watched her quietly, its eyes half closed, waiting. Ayla slowly untied her bottle and held it in both hands. She approached until she stood just a few steps away from the creature's giant face. The dragon's eyes tracked the bottle, a faint spark of hope appearing in its dim blue glow. She opened the cap. Her hands were shaking slightly, but her voice stayed soft. I brought some water. It's not much, but maybe it can help." The dragon blinked slowly, as if saying thank you without words. Ayla stepped closer and lifted the bottle toward its mouth. At first, she didn't know how to give water to such a large creature, but the dragon understood. It opened its mouth slightly, just enough for her to pour a small amount. It drank very slowly, careful not to spill, careful not to frighten her. The moment the first drops touched its tongue, the glowing lines on its skin brightened just a little, almost unnoticeable, but Ayla saw it. The creature let out a soft exhale, like a sigh of relief after centuries of suffering. Ayla stood there quietly, watching it drink the tiny bit of water she had brought. She felt a strange mixture of amazement and sympathy. This was something no one in her village, or probably anywhere else, had ever seen. And she was the one standing inside a hidden cave, giving water to a dying dragon. When the bottle was empty, the dragon closed its mouth with effort. Its head rested on the ground again, but its eyes looked a little clearer now, the blue color brighter. Ayla didn't know what to say. She just stood still, waiting. And the dragon spoke again, very softly. "Thank you, human child." Ayla felt a shiver run through her, not from fear, but from the realization that this creature understood her kindness. She didn't know what she had just stepped into. She didn't know what this meeting would become. All she knew was that something ancient, something forgotten by time itself, had needed her help, and she had answered. Ayla stayed frozen for a moment, her heart still racing from what had just happened. The dragon's faint blue eyes seemed to look straight into her soul, and though it lay weak and motionless, there was something almost wise about it, something that made her feel small and important at the same time. She had expected fear, maybe even anger from a creature that big, but all she felt from it now was pain and an unusual kind of trust. The dragon's head shifted slightly, just enough that Ayla could see its nostrils flare as it tried to breathe more comfortably. She noticed the roughness of its scales, where its body touched the cold stone floor. Each scale seemed like it could tell a story, worn smooth by centuries of movement or struggle. Its wings, folded close to its sides, looked almost too delicate to support its enormous body. And yet, even in this fragile state, the dragon radiated something powerful, something old, something alive in a way that words couldn't capture. She didn't know how to respond. Her throat felt tight. Her hands, still holding the empty water bottle, shook slightly. The sun had moved lower, and the soft rays of late afternoon barely reached the cave entrance, leaving the interior dim and mysterious. Shadows danced across the dragon's enormous body. Every time the creature exhaled, dust and small stones rattled gently, as if the cave itself was listening. Then it spoke again. The words were faint, almost a whisper, carried on the soft vibration of its breath. "Why? Help? Human?" Ayla froze, unsure if she had heard correctly. Its voice was low, almost like wind through a deep canyon, but she could understand it perfectly. Her eyes widened. It could speak her language. Somehow, after all this time, after centuries of silence, it could still communicate with a human. I couldn't leave you like that," she said softly. Her voice sounded small against the vastness of the cave, but she forced herself to continue. "You were in pain. You needed water. Anyone in trouble, I'd try to help them. Doesn't matter who." The dragon's glowing patterns pulsed slightly, a slow rhythm like a heartbeat. Ayla realized it was listening, studying her, trying to understand her. She took a careful step closer, remembering to keep a safe distance from its massive head and sharp-looking teeth. Even though it wasn't attacking, the sheer size of the creature made her cautious. "I'm not here to hurt you," she whispered. I want to help." The dragon tilted its head slightly, a movement so small it could have been missed, and then it spoke again, slower this time, as if every word cost enormous effort. "Trapped, long time. Centuries, no water, no life." Ayla's stomach. Sanctuaries? She had thought of it as some strange ancient creature, but to hear it say that it had been trapped for centuries, she could hardly believe it. Her mind raced. How could something live that long? How could it survive so long without water? And why hadn't anyone in her village ever seen it before? "Centuries?" she asked, barely above a whisper. You've been here all that time?" The dragon's eyes flickered faintly, a tiny spark of light moving across its glowing body. "Yes. Stuck. Could not move. Could not drink. Sleep helped. Little strength left." Ayla's hand instinctively went to her mouth. She wanted to say something, to ask more, but words felt small, insufficient. The creature's suffering was unimaginable. And yet, here it was, speaking to her as if she were the first person it had met in centuries. I can't imagine. I mean, how, she stammered. How did you survive so long? The dragon's throat moved as it tried to form the words, and finally it said, sleep. Long sleep, hunger small, drink little from stones. Not enough, almost dead. Ayla's eyes widened. It had survived by absorbing what little moisture it could find in the rocks. That explained the desperation, the faint glow that still flickered in its body. It had held on with whatever tiny fragments of life it could find. Her chest tightened at the thought of such endless suffering. I didn't know, she murmured. She wanted to do more than just give it water. She wanted to somehow make everything better. But she was just a girl. How could she possibly help a creature that had endured centuries of pain? The dragon exhaled slowly, a long, raspy sound that echoed through the cave. Its eyes softened as they looked at her. There was no fear in them now, only trust and a quiet, patient sadness. You care, human, it said, almost as if it were surprised by her presence. Rare, no one cares. Not anymore. Ayla's heart ached. She felt a wave of emotion she hadn't expected: sorrow, empathy, and a strange connection to this ancient being. She realized that, despite the size and power of the dragon, it was alone in a way that she had never known anyone could be alone. And in this quiet cave, with just the two of them, she felt a responsibility she hadn't asked for. I care, she said softly. I don't want you to suffer. I'll help you, somehow. The dragon's glow pulsed again, slightly brighter this time, like it understood her completely. It shifted slightly, enough to raise its head. Its eyes met hers fully, and in that gaze, Ayla felt something impossible, a connection between two very different beings, human and dragon, bound by trust and need. Help. Difficult. World not kind, human must believe. Not hurt, must trust. Ayla nodded, even though the dragon couldn't see the small movement clearly. She could feel the weight of its words. It wasn't just trapped physically. It had been trapped emotionally, unable to trust anyone for centuries. And now it was offering that trust to her. I'll try, she said, her voice firm despite the fear still fluttering in her chest. I don't know how, but I'll try. The dragon's breathing slowed, and it lowered its head again, almost resting on the cave floor. Its voice was quieter now, but filled with relief. Human, brave, kind. Rare. Ayla swallowed hard. She didn't feel brave. She felt scared. She felt small. But she also felt connected. Like this moment, this encounter, was bigger than anything she had ever experienced. She knelt beside it, careful not to touch its glowing scales too roughly. You must be so thirsty, she said softly. I don't have much, but I can bring more water. Will you wait for me? The dragon's eyes flickered faintly. It gave a slow, shallow nod. Wait, it said. Ayla took a deep breath. She needed to think. The cave was hidden, the entrance narrow, and the dragon's strength was low. She could try to get more water from the village, but no one could know about this. They would be afraid. They might try to chase it away. Or worse, they might hurt it. She realized she was alone in this. But in that realization, she also felt a strange courage. She would protect it. She would help it. She had no choice. For the next hour, she just sat there, keeping the dragon company. She whispered quietly, telling it small stories about her village, about the games she played as a child, about the tiny animals she liked to watch. The dragon didn't respond much, but it listened. Its eyes stayed on her, and with each word, it seemed to gain a little more strength, a little more warmth. By the time the sun had moved closer to the horizon, Ayla knew she had to leave to get more water. She whispered to the dragon, "I'll come back soon. I promise. Don't move too much, okay?" The dragon lifted its head slightly, just enough to give her a faint nod. "Wait, human, return," it said softly. "Grateful. Cannot say enough." Ayla smiled faintly, though her stomach twisted with worry. "I'll come back," she repeated. "I promise." She crawled out of the cave slowly, keeping an eye on the dragon until the shadows swallowed it. When she finally stepped onto the sunlit valley floor, her mind was racing with questions and plans. How could she help it survive? How could she bring enough water without drawing attention? And most importantly, what kind of creature had she just met, a dragon that had survived centuries in silence, now trusting her completely? Her heart felt heavy with responsibility, but also strangely alive. Something in her told her that this was only the beginning, that the story between her and the dragon had just begun. And even though the world outside was ordinary, she knew that inside that hidden cave, something extraordinary had awakened. And Ayla knew one thing for sure: she would do everything she could to help it, no matter what. Ayla walked quickly back toward the village, her mind spinning with thoughts of the dragon. Every step she took, she imagined the huge creature lying in the hidden cave, waiting for her to return. She felt a strange mix of fear, excitement, and responsibility. She couldn't stop thinking about its weak, glowing eyes and the way it had struggled just to speak the word water. By the time she reached the village, the sun was lower in the sky, painting everything in soft orange and gold. The streets were quiet. Most people were already inside their homes, finishing their evening chores or preparing dinner. Ayla's mind was elsewhere. She couldn't focus on anything around her. The dragon was all she could think about. She quickly went to her small house, careful not to attract attention. Her parents were busy in the kitchen, preparing a simple meal of bread and soup. She waved at them, but didn't stop. She grabbed a few empty jars and small containers she could fill with water, knowing she needed more than what she had brought. Earlier, she filled the jars quickly at the village well, moving as quietly as she could. Her hands shook slightly, not from fear, but from adrenaline. She thought about the dragon the whole way back to the valley. How big it was, how fragile it seemed in its weakened state, and how it had somehow trusted her completely. No one in the village would believe her if she told them what she had seen. Most people didn't even believe the old stories about strange creatures in the valley. But she knew the truth, and that truth made her heart pound with both fear and excitement. When she returned to the hidden cave, the sky was darker now. Shadows stretched across the valley floor, and the wind had picked up slightly, carrying dry dust in soft swirls. She approached the entrance carefully, holding the jars of water close to her chest. Her heart raced as she peeked inside, but relief flooded her when she saw the dragon still lying there. Its faint glow pulsed slowly, a little stronger than before. It hadn't moved much, but it was alive. Ayla took a deep breath. "I brought more water," she said softly, trying to calm her nerves. She walked forward slowly, keeping her hands visible so the dragon wouldn't feel threatened. "I don't know if it's enough, but it will help you stay alive." The dragon lifted its head slightly. Its eyes flickered brighter when they saw the containers she carried. It didn't move toward her. It simply watched, its gaze steady and patient. Then it spoke in that slow, wind-like voice. "Human, return. Thank you." Ayla smiled faintly. "I promised I would," she whispered. She set the jars down carefully on the cave floor, trying not to spill any water. Then she opened the first jar and held it toward the dragon. It drank slowly, more carefully this time, as if savoring every drop. Ayla watched quietly, noticing how its glowing lines became brighter with every sip. It was clear that even this small amount of water gave it strength. She felt a sense of accomplishment mixed with worry. She didn't know how much more it needed, or if she could even provide enough to save it completely. As the dragon drank, it spoke again, its voice weaker than before, but full of meaning. Why? Help, human. Most do not care. Ayla hesitated. She didn't know how to answer. Why had she helped? She had never expected a reward or recognition. Helping others was just something she felt she had to do. But explaining that to a dragon, centuries old and suffering, felt strange. I don't know, she said honestly. I just couldn't leave you like that. Anyone in pain, I'd try to help. Doesn't matter who or what. The dragon tilted its head, its eyes studying her carefully. Its glow pulsed slowly, almost like it was thinking. Then it said, you, different, rare others. Fear. Flee, not you. Ayla's heart warmed at that. She had never imagined that a creature so powerful, so ancient, could see something good in her. And yet, here it was, trusting her, speaking to her with words that seemed almost human. You're incredible, she whispered. I don't understand you, but I want to help. I'll do everything I can. The dragon's eyes flickered brighter, a tiny spark of hope lighting its face. It exhaled slowly, and for the first time, Ayla noticed a faint smile, almost imperceptible, crossing its long snout. Trapped, long time, no water, weak. Almost gone, it said. You, human, give hope, maybe survive. Ayla's chest tightened. She felt the weight of its words, the centuries of struggle that had brought it to this moment. And yet, despite all that suffering, it still held on to hope that she, a small girl from the village, could help it survive. I will, she said firmly. I'll find more water. I'll help you get stronger. I promise. The dragon lowered its head, letting out a soft, long breath. Its wings shifted slightly, as if testing their strength, but they immediately sagged again. Ayla realized that even with water, it would take time for the creature to recover. She needed a plan, and she needed patience. For the next hour, she sat beside the dragon, talking softly, telling it stories about her village and her life. She spoke of the fields, the animals, the festivals, and the small joys she experienced every day. The dragon listened quietly, its breathing steadier now, its glow slowly brightening. Occasionally, it let out a soft hum, a sound that seemed almost like a response. Ayla realized that talking to it helped her as much as it helped the dragon. She felt less afraid, less alone in this strange, incredible situation. She began to notice small details, the way its scales shimmered under, the faint light, the rhythm of its heartbeat through the glowing lines on its body, and the faint warmth radiating from its skin. You, strong, survived, long, she said softly. I can't imagine how you made it. The dragon's eyes focused on her. Survive must wait, someone care. Few, patient, trust, rare. Ayla nodded, understanding. It's trust. In her was a gift, and she would not betray it. She felt a new determination rising inside her. She would find a way to help it fully. She would do everything she could to give it water, strength, and a chance to live again. By the time the moon rose high in the sky, Ayla knew she had to leave to get more supplies. She stood slowly, careful not to startle the dragon. I'll come back soon, she said softly. I'll bring more water. I won't leave you here alone. The dragon lifted its head slightly, giving her a small, slow nod. Return. Human, brave. Kind. Ayla smiled faintly, feeling a mix of pride and worry. She knew this was only the beginning. Helping the dragon would not be easy. It would take courage, patience, and clever thinking. She would have to keep it a secret. From the village, gather enough water, and find ways to keep it alive without attracting attention. But despite the challenges, she felt a strange excitement. She was part of something extraordinary. She had met a creature from centuries past, a being that had survived unimaginable pain, and it had chosen to trust her. That trust made her feel stronger, braver, and more determined than ever. As she crawled out of the cave and stepped onto the valley floor, she looked back once. The dragon's faint glow was still visible in the darkness, like a tiny star in the hidden cave. She whispered, "I'll come back. I promise." The wind carried her words softly, and for a moment she thought she heard the dragon's faint reply, almost like a sigh of relief. Return. Human, hope, alive. Ayla's heart raced with anticipation. She didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but she knew one thing for certain: she would not abandon the dragon. She would find a way to help it recover, no matter how long it took, no matter what obstacles came between them. And with that promise in her heart, she ran back toward the village, carrying hope, determination, and a plan to save a creature that had been trapped and dying for centuries. Ayla spent the night thinking about the dragon, unable to sleep properly. She kept imagining its glowing eyes, the way it had struggled to speak, and the faint lines of light on its body that flickered with every breath. She knew that bringing water had helped it, but she also realized that this creature was far from safe. It was weak, trapped, and had survived centuries of suffering. She needed to know more about what it was, why it had been trapped, and how she could help it survive. The next morning, she woke early, packed a few more containers, and went back to the valley. The air was cool and crisp, a kind that made her lungs feel alive with each breath. As she approached the hidden cave, she noticed something new. The ground near the entrance was scattered with tiny fragments of stone, as if something large had moved inside during the night. She paused, a little afraid, but also curious. Inside the cave, the dragon was still there, resting on the cold stone floor, its head lifted slowly when it sensed her presence. The glow along its body was brighter now, showing that the water from yesterday had given it some strength. Its eyes met hers, and for the first time, she noticed something she hadn't before, a deep sadness that went beyond just hunger or thirst. It was the sadness of something that had lost its home, its freedom, and time itself. "You returned," the dragon said softly. Its voice was weak, but clearer than before. "Human, bring more?" Ayla nodded, setting the jars down carefully. "Yes, I brought more water. But I want to understand you. Who are you? Where did you come from? How did you end up here?" The dragon paused, its long neck stretching slightly as it considered her questions. Then it spoke slowly, as if each word carried the weight of centuries. "Name, not Earth. Come far. Planet, home, lost, crash, vish," as if each word carried the weight of centuries. "Name, not Earth. Come far. Planet, home, lost, crash, trapped." Ayla listened carefully, trying to piece together its story. She realized it had come from another world, a place completely different from Earth. It had once flown freely, traveled over mountains, lakes, and skies that she could only imagine. But something had gone wrong. A storm, a crash, and now it was trapped in this hidden cave, far from its home. "You? Crash?" Ayla asked, her voice gentle. "You mean, like, you fell from the sky?" The dragon nodded slowly. "Yes. Storm, could not fight, pulled down. broken, trapped. Ayla's mind raced. She had never seen anything like this in her life. Dragons were supposed to be creatures of legends, stories told to children. But here was one, huge and glowing, speaking to her in a language she could understand, and it had traveled from another world. She felt a shiver of awe and fear at the same time. Why? You survived so long? She asked. I mean, centuries? How is that possible? Sleep, conserve, little water, stones. Survive, weak, almost gone, the dragon said. Its glowing lines flickered as if struggling to hold light. Alone? No one. Only time, wait, hope, gone. Ayla's heart ached. She had never thought about what it meant to be alone for centuries, without food, without water, without anyone to trust. She realized that the dragon's suffering was more than physical. It was also emotional loneliness, so deep that it could crush even the strongest spirit. I can't imagine, she whispered. But you're not alone anymore. I'm here. I'll help you. The dragon's eyes softened. Human. Trust, rare few centuries. None, but you. Help. Small water, life, grateful. Ayla knelt closer, careful not to startle it. I don't know if I can help completely, she said, but I'll try. I'll do everything I can. The dragon exhaled slowly, the sound echoing in the cave. Its wings twitched faintly, as if testing their strength. Hope, small, fragile, you, human. Make survive. Possible. Ayla realized that the dragon's survival depended on more than water. It needed care, understanding, and someone it could trust. She knew she had to be patient. She couldn't rush it. It had been trapped for centuries. Recovery would take time. She spent the rest of the morning observing it. She noticed the way it moved carefully, conserving energy. She watched its glowing lines brighten and dim with each breath. She even started talking to it about small things, stories from her village, memories from her childhood, the little joys she found in daily life. The dragon listened quietly, sometimes humming softly in response, as if acknowledging her words. You? World. Different. Earth. Strange. Small. Humans. Fragile. Yet, care. Hope, the dragon said after a long pause. Ayla smiled faintly. I guess we are fragile, but we can also care. That's something. I care about you, and I'll help you survive. The dragon's glow brightened again, slightly stronger. It shifted its body carefully, raising its head higher. Help. Difficult, world not kind. Human must trust. Careful. Survive. Ayla nodded. I understand. I'll be careful. I won't let anyone hurt you. And I'll find more. Water. I promise. The dragon lowered its head again, exhaling slowly. Return. Brave. Human. Rare. Trust. Few. Grateful. Ayla felt a strange warmth inside her chest. She had never experienced anything like this before. Here was a creature so ancient, so powerful, and yet so vulnerable. And it trusted her. It believed in her enough to wait, to hope, to survive. She realized that helping the dragon was not just about giving water. It was about companionship, understanding, and patience. She would need to learn how to communicate, how to care for it, and how to protect it from dangers she couldn't even imagine. As the day passed, Ayla brought more water in small amounts. Of food she thought might help. She noticed the dragon's strength slowly improving. It could lift its head higher. Its wings twitched with more energy, and its glowing lines pulsed steadily instead of faintly. Each improvement filled her with hope and determination. At one point, the dragon spoke about the valley itself. Valley. Once spring, water, Gone. Last sip, taken unknowingly. Humans lack life dry. Ayla's eyes widened. She realized that the dragon had not only been trapped, but had also unintentionally affected the environment around it. The valley's dryness, the cracked earth, the scarcity of water somehow, the dragon's long struggle had played a role in it. She felt a mix of guilt and responsibility. Helping it survive now felt even more urgent, not just for the dragon, but for the valley itself. I didn't know, she whispered. I'm sorry. I'll help fix this somehow. You're not alone anymore. The dragon's glowing lines flickered softly. Human, understanding, rare, centuries, none. Now, hope. Ayla realized that she had become part of its story. She wasn't just a helper. She was a friend, a protector, someone it could trust after centuries of loneliness. And that trust was precious. She vowed silently to herself that she would not betray it. No matter what challenges came next. As the sun began to set, Ayla looked at the dragon, now resting more comfortably. It was weaker than a healthy creature should be, but it was no longer at the edge of death. She felt a mix of relief and determination. This was progress, but there was still a long way to go. You need rest, she said softly. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll bring more water. And maybe we can figure out a way to help you get stronger, okay? The dragon lifted its head slightly, giving her a slow nod. Return? Human, brave, kind, rare, grateful. Ayla smiled, feeling both proud and anxious. She knew the journey ahead would be difficult. She didn't know how she would manage it all, the water, the care, the secrecy, but she also knew that she couldn't give up. The dragon had survived centuries of suffering. She could at least try to help it survive the coming days. As she left the cave and stepped onto the valley floor, she looked back once more. The faint blue glow of the dragon was still visible in the shadows, a reminder of the creature's resilience and the trust it had placed in her. She whispered, I'll be back. I promise. We'll figure this out together. And as she walked back toward the village, carrying hope, determination, and a growing sense of responsibility, she realized that her life had changed forever. She was no longer just a girl from a quiet village. She was the dragon's friend, protector, and lifeline. And together, they had a long, difficult journey ahead, one that would test her courage, patience, and heart. Ayla returned to the valley the next morning, carrying more water and a few supplies she thought could help the dragon. She had spent the night thinking about ways to make it stronger, how to protect it, and how to keep the village from discovering it. She knew it would not be easy. The dragon had been trapped for centuries, and had survived only by conserving the little energy it had. Now that it was gaining some strength, she could see that helping it escape the cave completely would be a huge challenge. As she approached the hidden entrance, she could see the dragon's faint glow, even from a distance. Its enormous body lay partially coiled, its wings stretched slightly as it tested them. The glow seemed steadier than before, and Ayla felt a spark of hope. It was improving, slowly but surely. Good morning, she whispered softly, setting down the jars. I brought more water. I also have some food for you. We need to help you get stronger, okay? The dragon lifted its head, blinking at her slowly. Return, human. Trust, rare, kind. It gave a faint hum as it drank the water, then looked at her with a careful curiosity. As if weighing her words, Ayla knelt beside it, thinking carefully about her next move. She realized that the dragon's greatest challenge now wasn't just thirst or hunger, it was being trapped. Its body was too large and weak to move easily, and the entrance to the cave was narrow and blocked by heavy rocks. She knew that if it wanted to escape, it would need her help. But helping a creature this huge was risky. One wrong move and the rocks could fall, or the dragon could hurt itself, or even her. "We need a plan," she said softly. "You can't just push the rocks yourself. I can't move them alone, but together. Maybe we can do it." The dragon tilted its head, its glowing eyes watching her carefully. "Together, help, survive," Ayla nodded. "Yes, I'll guide you. You have to conserve your strength, and let me do what I can. I know it will be slow, but we can try." For the next few hours, Ayla worked carefully to clear the entrance. She brought small tools from the village, ropes, wooden levers, and sticks to wedge between rocks. She cleared loose stones first, throwing them aside carefully so that none fell onto the dragon. The dragon watched her closely, its massive head, following every move. Occasionally, it used its weak energy pulses to help push small rocks or shift debris. Every movement seemed to cost it great effort, and Ayla felt guilty even as she guided it. "You? Careful, human? Strength, small, fragile." The dragon said softly. "I know," Ayla replied, panting slightly from the work. "But I'm strong enough for both of us. You just need to stay calm and follow my lead." They worked for hours, slowly moving rocks and widening the entrance. Ayla noticed the dragon's glowing lines pulsing faster now, not from fear, but from effort. She realized it was giving everything it had, carefully using its remaining energy to assist her. She felt a deep respect for the creature. It had survived centuries, endured suffering beyond imagination, and now it was working with her to reclaim freedom. As the sun climbed higher, they managed to move enough rocks to create a narrow opening. Ayla stepped back to look at the result. It was still tight, and she knew the dragon would have to squeeze carefully to get through, but it was a start. She knelt beside it, placing her hand gently on its massive jaw. "You can do this," she whispered. "Take it slow. I'll be right here with you." The dragon exhaled slowly, its glowing lines flickering. It lowered its head slightly and whispered, "Human, brave, guide, patient, rare." Ayla smiled faintly. "We're in this together," she said. "Now try moving forward slowly. You have to test your strength." The dragon shifted its enormous body carefully, testing its wings and legs. It lifted its head, stretched its neck, and slowly inched forward. Each movement caused the ground to shake slightly, and dust fell from the cave walls. Ayla stayed close, guiding its movements with gentle touches and words of encouragement. "You're doing well," she whispered. "Just a little more. Careful." Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky, and the light in the cave changed, highlighting the dragon's glowing lines. It was exhausting for both of them, but they didn't stop. They had a shared goal, and the bond between them grew stronger with each effort. Ayla could feel the dragon's trust in her, and that trust pushed her to keep going, even when her arms ached and her legs trembled from fatigue. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the dragon reached the narrowest part of the opening. It paused, its glowing eyes looking at Ayla. "Human, careful, not hurt," it whispered. Ayla nodded. "I'll be right here. I won't let anything happen to you. Just keep moving slowly." With painstaking effort, the dragon began to squeeze through the opening. Its huge wings folded tightly against its body, its tail curling carefully to avoid scraping the rocks. Ayla guided it with gentle touches and soft words, making sure it moved as safely as possible. The dragon exhaled deeply, glowing lines flickering with every movement, but it kept going, trusting her completely. Finally, with one last careful push, the dragon's massive head emerged into the sunlight. Its eyes blinked, adjusting to the brightness. Ayla stayed close, holding its massive jaw gently, guiding the rest of its body through the opening. When its enormous torso cleared the entrance, the dragon paused to stretch its wings and legs. Feeling the warmth of the sun on its scales for the first time in centuries, Ayla watched, holding her breath. The dragon's wings twitched, then unfolded fully. Its glowing lines pulsed brightly, reflecting the sunlight and casting faint, colorful shadows on the rocks. It gave a low, rumbling exhale, a sound that was neither a roar nor a sigh, but a mixture of relief and gratitude. You, human, brave, guide, rare, kind, the dragon said softly. Ayla smiled, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and pride. You did it, she whispered. You're free, finally free. The dragon lifted its massive head, testing its wings. It stretched carefully, its glowing body pulsing steadily now. Ayla realized it wasn't fully strong yet, but it had enough energy to stand and move. She felt a deep sense of accomplishment and relief. Together, they had achieved something incredible, but the dragon wasn't finished. It looked at Ayla with glowing eyes, speaking softly but clearly. Human, stay, close, world, not safe, must, careful. Ayla nodded. I will, she said. I won't leave you. We'll make sure nothing hurts you. I promise. The dragon exhaled slowly, raising its wings slightly, testing its strength. Trust. Human, rare, centuries, none. Now, alive, grateful. Ayla felt tears prick her eyes. She had never imagined that helping a creature like this could feel so powerful. They had worked together, relied on each other, and now the dragon was free, at least for the moment. She realized that freedom wasn't just about escaping the cave, it was about trust, patience, and courage. For a long time, they simply stood together outside the cave. The sun warmed their skin. The wind blew softly through the valley, and the dragon's glow pulsed steadily. Ayla watched it carefully, making sure it was safe, while the dragon adjusted to the open air. You, human, saved, life, centuries, alone, now. Hope, it whispered. I'm glad, Ayla said softly. You deserve this. You deserve to live, to see the sun, to be free. The dragon exhaled, a long, low sound, almost like a sigh. Its wings twitched and stretched fully, catching the light. For the first time in centuries, it looked strong enough to fly again. Ayla's heart pounded at the thought. The dragon had survived, and she had helped it. Together, they had accomplished something extraordinary, but even as she celebrated, Ayla knew that their journey was not over. The dragon still needed care, water, and rest. The valley still held challenges, and the world outside could be dangerous. But for now, they had taken the first, most important step. The dragon was free, alive, and beginning to trust again. And Ayla knew, deep in her heart, that she would do everything she could to help it recover fully. No matter how long it took, no matter how difficult the journey, she would not abandon. The dragon that had survived centuries of suffering and now relied on her courage and kindness. Ayla stood at the edge of the valley, looking at the dragon that now moved with a confidence she had never seen before. Its wings stretched wide, catching the sunlight, and its glowing lines pulsed steadily, brighter than ever. After centuries of suffering and being trapped in a dark cave, it was finally able to feel the warmth of the sun and the wind on its skin. Ayla felt a mixture of awe, pride, and relief. The dragon had survived, and she had helped it regain strength, step by step, with patience and courage. The dragon lowered its massive head to look at her. Human, brave, patient, rare, kind, centuries, none, now alive, grateful. Ayla smiled, feeling a lump in her throat. You don't need to thank me, she said softly. I just wanted to help. I couldn't leave you in that cave. You deserve to live freely, to feel the sun, to move, to fly again if you want. The dragon blinked slowly, the glow along its body pulsing rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Fly. Again. Yes. Weak. Long, but strength. Return with time. Ayla nodded. She understood. Freedom wasn't just about being outside the cave. It was about regaining full strength, the power to soar into the sky, and the confidence to trust the world again. It would take time, and she would have to be patient. But she was ready. She had committed herself to this dragon, and she would not turn back. First, she said softly, we need to make sure you're safe here. The valley is quiet, but it can be dangerous. There are cliffs, hidden holes, and the villagers can't know about you yet. We have to be careful. The dragon shifted its wings slightly, folding and unfolding them with effort. Its glowing lines pulsed as it watched her, and she could sense a spark of excitement in its voice. Care, yes. Guide, human. Trust, survive, patience. Ayla smiled faintly. We'll take it slow. We'll move carefully. Step by step. You're already strong enough to stand and move, but we can't rush. They spent the morning exploring the valley together. Ayla stayed close, observing the dragon as it adjusted to the open air. Every step it took was careful, cautious, but there was a new confidence in its movements. Its glowing lines pulsed with energy, and for the first time, Ayla noticed a rhythm in the light, a sign of life returning after centuries of suffering. You? Human, brave, guide, rare, patience, grateful. The dragon said again, each word slower than the last, almost like it was savoring them. Ayla laughed softly. You've said that a lot, she teased gently. But I know. I can. Feel it. You're starting to trust me completely. The dragon gave a low, vibrating hum, a sound of approval and contentment. Ayla realized that even after all it had endured, it could still feel joy and relief. And she felt it too. She had helped something that had survived unimaginable pain. And now she was part of its journey toward freedom. By midday, Ayla noticed that the dragon was becoming more active. It could lift its head fully, move its wings without struggle, and even walk short distances across the valley floor. She smiled, but she also knew the journey wasn't over. Full strength would take time, water, food, and careful attention. You're doing amazing, she said softly, but we can't rush. You need to rest after each movement. Your body hasn't had full strength for centuries. You need to regain it slowly, step by step. The dragon nodded, its eyes flickering with a soft blue glow. Slow, careful, patient, human, guide, trust, survive, alive. Ayla spent the afternoon bringing more water and small food she thought might help. She stayed close, observing every movement, making sure the dragon didn't overexert itself. She talked softly, telling it stories about the village, about the animals, and about the small joys she had discovered in life. The dragon listened carefully, sometimes humming or flickering its glow in response. It seemed to understand not just her words, but her emotions as well. You, human, care, rare, centuries, none, now, alive. Grateful, it whispered. Ayla, I know, and I'll keep caring. I won't stop. You're not alone anymore. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the valley, the dragon tested its wings again. It spread them wide, feeling the air, and Ayla could see the excitement and strength returning. The creature had survived centuries of being trapped, and now it was learning what it meant to be alive again. You're stronger now, Ayla said softly, watching it. Soon, you'll be able to fly again. But you have to be careful. Don't push too hard, okay? The dragon lowered its head slightly, giving her a slow nod. Air, human, patient, guide. Strength, return, fly, free, grateful. Night fell over the valley, and Ayla knew she had to leave for a short while. She promised the dragon she would return with more water and supplies the next morning. As she walked back to the village, she looked back at the faint glow in the valley. It was a comforting sight, a sign that life was returning to a creature that had suffered for centuries. For the next few days, Ayla visited the dragon regularly. She brought water, food, and gentle companionship. Each day, the dragon grew stronger. Its movements became more confident, its glow steadier, and its hums of contentment more frequent. It even began to experiment with short hops and flaps of its wings, testing the strength of its muscles. Ayla stayed close, encouraging it and celebrating every small victory. "You're amazing," she said one day as the dragon lifted itself slightly into the air. "After everything you've been through, you're still alive, still fighting. And you trust me enough to do this with me." The dragon tilted its head, glowing lines pulsing brightly. Human, patient, brave, guide, rare, centuries, none, now. Alive, strong. Finally, after weeks of careful care, the dragon could stand fully, stretch its wings, and even leap into the air for short flights around the valley. Each flight was slow at first, but soon it gained confidence and strength. Ayla watched, her heart soaring with it. "You did it," she whispered softly. "You're free. You can fly again. And you survived. After all those centuries, you survived." The dragon circled above her, glowing in the sunlight, and then landed gently beside her. Its eyes met hers, full of gratitude and trust. Human, friend, protector, guide, rare, patient, centuries, alive, grateful, free. Ayla smiled, tears welling in her eyes. "We did it together," she said. "I'll always be here. You're not alone anymore. You have a friend." The dragon exhaled slowly, a long, low sound that echoed through the valley. Its wings folded gently, and its glowing lines pulsed in a steady, strong rhythm. For the first time in centuries, it was truly free. Ayla realized that helping it survive had been about more than water or food. It had been about trust, patience, courage, and friendship. And in that moment, standing in the valley with a dragon that had lived through centuries of suffering, Ayla understood something profound. Even in the darkest times, when hope seems lost, kindness and patience can create miracles. One small act of care, one promise to help, can change the course of an entire life. Even a life that has lasted for centuries. As the sun set over the valley, casting golden light across the dragon's glowing body, Ayla felt a deep sense of peace. She had helped a creature survive, regain strength, and find freedom. And in return, the dragon had given her something equally powerful, a bond of trust, friendship, and a shared journey that would last a lifetime. The dragon lifted its head one last time, glancing at Ayla with eyes full of gratitude. Human, brave, patient, rare, kind, centuries, alive, free, friend. Ayla smiled, reaching out to touch its glowing snout gently. "We're friends," she said softly, "and I'll always be here for you." "Always," the dragon exhaled. Softly, the glow along its body pulsing gently. Together, they stood in the valley, side by side, two very different beings, bound by trust, care, and a journey that had spanned centuries. And for the first time in a very long time, the dragon felt hope, freedom, and life itself. Ayla knew their adventure wasn't over. There would be challenges, dangers, and mysteries yet to face. But she also knew this. Together, They could overcome anything. They had survived the impossible, and now they were ready to face the future side. By side, human and dragon, friend and protector, free at last.